Now let's have a closer look at the upcoming South African elections. We're joined live from our Johannesburg studios by Dr Malte Brovic, an international relations expert with the University of Witswatersrand. Welcome to Africa Live. So now that an election date has been set, what's your take on the ANC support being in decline?
I would say, well, as you know, there's a lot of dissatisfaction within the country. There have been quite a number of protests nationwide. However, anything but an election victory would be a major surprise. I think the main question is if those people who are dissatisfied with the ANC would actually vote for another party or simply stay at home.
Right, now there is a fair amount of dissatisfaction, and as you say, the question is what exactly voters will do with their power. But there have also been several reports and indications that this is decline is also due to Jacob Zuma himself and scandals such as in Nkandla, where millions of rands have been spent on upgrading his private residence. So considering that, is Zuma the best candidate for the party? They seem to be happy with him.
Well, I think the ANC has to stick with Jacob Zuma as a candidate. Changing the leadership now shortly before the elections would certainly be sending a rather devastating signal here.
Right, and one of the other issues we've seen is from the opposition, rather that the opposition is slowly making some inroads when it comes to the ANC support base. You look at Julius Malema's EFF, slowly winning over disenchanted ANC supporters. So what exactly do you expect to see in terms of how they perform at the elections in May?
Yeah, I think there's quite a difference between the ANC as a very established party, which is more than 100 years old, a movement which is very much rooted within the country, and then the opposition parties. The main question, I think, for the opposition parties is really can they mobilize those voters who are not really happy with the ANC. So my bet would rather be that dissatisfied ANC voters would rather stay at home. A question for the DA, one of the bigger opposition parties certainly is also can they grow out from the stronghold on the Western Cape to the whole of the country. For other parties like Julius Malema's party, it's quite a still young organization. So the question really is, do they have the structure in the background to mobilize the people and become a nationwide party? Again, most people expect an ANC victory. Anything else would really be a major surprise.
All right, now also the performance of the economy is likely to be key on the agenda at the elections, and lately we've seen the government at loggerheads with the unions, especially mine workers, some issues around the tripartite alliance. So how is this likely to impact the outcome of the elections?
Yeah, well, I think there's a double squeeze for South Africa. One is coming from the outside international markets, but the other part, of course, is coming from the inside domestically. And as you said, the rift between the unions and the government is actually getting bigger around issues of e-tolling or Marikana, etc. The question really is what political impact can we expect from this? The unions are also not completely unified. There are quite a number of fractions internally. And I think both sides know that after the elections, well, they have to work together in one way or the other. So there's not much support coming from the unions for the ANC, that seems to be clear. But having a bit of distance between the government and the unions might not completely to the disadvantage of the government itself.
All right, thanks very much for your time this evening. We're speaking there to Dr Malte Brovic, an international relations expert from the University of Witswatersrand.